unreal. Just every little local brewery you can think of.
I cannot imagine.
How big is the golf course?
Let me get on.
Yeah, go ahead. He's going to step on in on this.
Okay.
They actually started out, the coolest one is a par 3, 18 holes. So I laid that one out, and then on the side I said, well, I need something that's more family friendly, so I made a par 2 course, and that's the one Bree played. So basically it's a lot shorter. Every hole was like 50 to 80 feet. So it makes it more fun and accessible for like families or beginners, or if you want to have a drink in your hand and just not walk too far. But then we also, I got with a guy named Christian Riley, who's been on several pro events, and he competes all over the nation. He came out and we designed a championship course too. So when it's all said and done, we'll have 54 holes and basically 3 different ability level courses. But it's going to take a while.
That will be that will be a premier thing in that area.
Yeah, and it goes back into that whole concept of being able to just book some really cool events that kind of come and go. It's like we talked about, Scioto County. I mean, I wouldn't be able to have enough memberships to sustain that, but we could easily get one of the state qualifying events, have a couple tournaments of our own. And if we had 3 big tournaments there a year and then book some weekday play, we'll do all right on that.
So when do you expect maybe at least one of is one of the courses open already? Can the public go play it?
Yeah, the par 2, the short one, is open, but it's just poles right now. So the tee boxes are really nice, built those, but we don't have baskets. We're probably 2 years from getting our first baskets, which that is kind of the standard. But the fun thing is the course and the layout are so good. The poles work. I mean, you still have to throw really good shots, through the trees to get to where you're going. But yeah, I knew going into it that long term, not only was I going to I had to stop building it, about at the beginning of May, but it's not worth maintaining through the summer because it just gets overgrown. It's really tricky. But every year around like the end of October, it just comes into its prime. So October through May, it's a great activity. But June, July, August, and September, I just don't even want to mess with it.
Well, and it's so hot and muggy at that time of the year. I mean, something like that, to me, just standing around throwing a Frisbee, I could see how it'd be a little bit of a turnoff just sweating the whole time.
Yeah, you're out in the wood. You're basically hiking without trails out in the woods. So, I mean, you really need pants on and shoes. So that's just a lot easier whenever it's wintertime and it's, in the 50s or the 40s or the 30s, to put on pants and long sleeves, and the leaves are off the trees so you can see your disc further. So yeah, it's just a sport that shines much brighter in the off season.
At one point in time, you talked about doing a 3D archery course. Is that still a thing, or did you kind of scrap that?
I would really love to do that too. We've got space for it. Been in touch with a group. I think they're out of Ironton that they have a couple of those per year. And that's one of those where I just can't afford to go out and buy the targets and do it once, but I think there is a way for me to rent them. And yeah, we would be set up for that really good. So yeah, it's just a matter. The big lesson, I think, and you kind of see the writing on the wall, is I learned to be the land guy and not try to be the event producer too. There's just so many great so many event producers. They already have their email list. They already have a following, and I just don't have that. It's not because I'm an unpopular guy. It's just I'm not really known in any niche sports. I'm good enough to compete in just about everything, but I'm not, I'm just not known. But
Well,
I'm not as good.
what you did is smart. You made the contacts, and you just passed off that responsibility. There are other things you need to focus on.
Yeah, and that's what's cool. I think that's been the lesson. When I first started out, I tried to produce all my own events and try to make it work. And we had some runners come out because we've no runners, but it's ultimately a lot of these event producers, they've already got their books. They've already got the contacts. And I think with this COVID issue, a lot of people are going to lose their venues. A lot of people did. So a lot of races that were booked in March, April, and May, they got moved to the fall, but there were already races in the fall on some of those venues. So I think people are going to, we'll be able to pick up some, by luck, some good things this year.
Well, and as nice of a property as you have, once those people get out there and see what you actually do have, it probably won't be very hard to get them to come back to get that repeat business.
Yeah, and that's why this year we're focusing on very low cost venue fees and just trying to get people out because it's either do that or try to develop a bunch of marketing publications and pay to market, but it's really hard to sell something where there's no cell service, and I don't know. I just don't know how to sell it. And I've worked with great marketers. I've spent a lot of money on marketing, but there's no substitute for when people get out of their cars there and they say, "Wow, this is it, man." So,
yeah. And it's a shame that Scioto County has this kind of stigma of just being this poor place, this old, we'll take Portsmouth, for example, this old river town that's riddled with drug problems and homelessness and all that stuff. Are there any other young aspiring entrepreneurs that are going to try to take advantage of some of the outdoor recreation stuff there? We'll take kayaking, canoeing, for example. What's holding people back from developing more of these types of businesses in the area?
I think the biggest thing that I notice is people that like to do these activities, they do these activities. And they travel to do these activities. So they haven't really had anyone tap them on the shoulder and say, like, hey, let's get some friends together. Let's buy a piece of land on the side of Brush Creek and let's try to shuttle some people and try to make it work. But I think it's just the area is just missing that. It's missing that big enthusiasm on outdoor tourism recreation. But it's just a shame that on the Scioto River, for instance, there's not a public boat launch south of Waverly. I mean, that's a true public.
Yeah, not a maintained boat launch. You're right.
Correct. There's places you can put in if you know the right where to look, but there's not like. And then with Scioto Brush Creek, very similar thing. There's the Otway Covered Bridge, and then there's the Friends of Scioto Brush Creek spot there at Tapman Co. and Pollock Road. Other than that, that's all you've got. And that one at Tapman Co. Pollock Road, that isn't really much of a launch. Anyway, it's just kind of a place. It's a parking area. It's public parking near the stream. So, I mean, the government really needs, or the people really need to get the government to invest in some infrastructure there. I mean, it's what will ultimately, it's what's required to make it like Hocking Hills, where they have, a dozen canoe kayak companies that'll shuttle you back and forth.
And some they're large companies too. Hocking Hills Canoe Library is gigantic.
And we've got the same infrastructure as them, if not better. But we just...
I'd say better. I'd say the waterways there are better than the Hocking River, if you ask me, the Soda River, and even the Ohio River.
Yeah. And so back to that square one, like, who are the younger, ambitious people, kind of spurring that movement. Most of them they're doing what needs to be done downtown. They're revitalizing downtown, which is where, that's kind of the core, because if you are going to try to get people here for tourism, you do need some places to take them, and you need kind of a vibrant little town. But as far as, when west of the Scioto River, I don't know that many people that are really trying to set aside land and build any outdoor business.
Yeah, and even the people that are building up that downtown area, I think something that would be very beneficial is some kind of rec center. Like out here, they've got indoor climbing gyms, just these little places where you can do these little niche activities in relative safety.
Yeah.
I always thought, and plus that'll give the kids in the area something to do, keep them possibly out of some other troubles, or give them an outlet to vent some of their anger and frustrations, be a little more constructive, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about Scioto County, you think it is relatively poor, but people can buy four-wheelers and these side-by-side razors by the dozen, but we can't have a bicycle store or a kayak store. Like, it just doesn't even...
It doesn't track.
Yeah, it's not, at this point, it's not really about the money. It's just about the culture just kind of just doesn't appreciate these things. But that's all right, because any tourism industry, you can't, Hocking Hills doesn't depend on just Warren County and Hocking County to fill up their cabins. I mean, they're nationwide. And that's the, if there's a moral to this whole story that I've had to learn is, in this business, you got to be nationwide. I mean, you literally have to have license plates from as many states as you can to get that reach. And the good thing is those people will never be disappointed when they get to Scioto County. There's not a person that's going to try. We had people from Colorado last year. They love it. I mean, it's a guarantee, but getting them there, yeah. When you put Lucasville, Ohio as your address and people tell you, oh, that's where the prison's at. I mean, what do you do about that?
That's a hard thing to overcome. And that's where the importance of a place like McChesney Ridge might come into play. If you can get that national recognition, maybe you can set the example for some other people and say, hey, it's worth taking this risk. The payoff is there.
Yeah. And I think the way it spurs is, if everything goes perfect, we start booking a lot of events, and I reach out to everyone in the area and say, look, we need more Airbnbs. If you've got an upstairs of a garage that you can rent out, get it ready, because we're going to start bringing more people here than you can hold. And that's, I think once people see the income associated with renting those Airbnb spots, they'll want to build small cabins, and they'll want to do that. But it's got to take something to say, hey, people are coming here. They just don't have any place to stay.
Well, I'm glad you're a trendsetter. That's that area needs more people like you. It's a shame you had to move to northern Kentucky for your work, but still, your presence in the area is known. I mean, there's no way around that.
Well, thanks, man. I've developed a bigger appreciation for it than ever. I was there, last weekend and just taking it all in. Like I couldn't have felt that good living there. When I was living there, it was just tough trying to do that and then split time in Cincinnati. But now my life feels really organized. Like, I can kick butt at the office in the big city, and then I can get out of work at 5:30 on a Friday and be there by 7:30. I mean, and I can leave at 6 a.m. on Monday morning, and it's just like, that's just a dream for me.
Yeah, well, you and Breanna